he himself deemed Papias as unreliable. And even the scholars today deem him as unreliable.
Yeah.
So what I'm asking you then...
So there's a 50-year gap.
No, but that's not my problem.
Okay. There's a 50-year gap. The elders of the church, which
Yeah, this is my problem.
every church has elders.
This is my problem.
So if Papias asks the elders, and it's common knowledge, then you say, I don't believe Papias, but you have no counterclaim. Did anyone claim that Papias was wrong?
Okay, what I'm saying is...
Did anyone claim that Matthew didn't write Matthew?
Okay, let me respond then.
Yes. Did anyone claim that John didn't write John? Nobody did for a very long time.
Did they deem Papias as reliable? Did they?
It's the best information you have.
Did they deem him as reliable?
It's the best information.
You're not answering the question. Did they deem him as reliable?
Yeah, I say it's the best you have.
Did they deem Papias as reliable?
More than you. More reliable than you.
Did they deem Papias as a reliable source? Did they deem him as reliable?
You say they didn't.
I'm asking you, did people deem Papias as reliable?
Yeah.
Did they?
No, I'm saying you don't.
I'm asking you, since you have more knowledge than me, I'm a layman in this.
No, it's not true that I have more knowledge than you.
Okay,
You've studied it.
I haven't studied much.
You have already, you studied it while saying,
but
this can't be true.
But what I'm saying
while
is...
you say this book it's not written by Matthew, for example.
What's your name, by the way? Chris, right?
Yeah, Chris.
Chris, you're telling me that I'm wrong. So I'm saying, if I'm wrong, did people deem Papias as reliable? You have a man in 130 AD, that's what everyone watching can understand, right? The first person to ever claim disciples wrote this account was a church bishop in 130 AD named Papias. Now I'm asking you, when Papias made this claim that the disciples wrote these accounts that you Christians go with today, did the early Christians deem him as a reliable source?
The early Christians accepted his claim.
Did they think he was reliable?
The early Christians accepted his claim that Matthew had written it.
Okay.
Because the early Christians knew Matthew had written it.
Did they bother to test it?
2,000 years later, you and some other people come and say, oh, Matthew didn't write it.
The majority of Christian scholars, agree they didn't write it.
That is, no. The majority of Christian scholars for 2,000 years have agreed that Matthew wrote Matthew.
No.
Only the last 50 years or so, some non-Christian scholars have claimed Matthew didn't write it. No. They are Europeans. They're not Christian.
I can name them. No, but what I'm saying is...
To show me that they are Christian.
I'll show you, but what I'm saying is...
But actually, for 2,000 years, all Christians have accepted Matthew was written by Matthew. Only the last, 50 years or so, there has been a change because atheists have actually claimed that. There's not a Christian.
Okay, Chris.
So if you talk about atheist scholars, fine, follow an atheist. But don't call them Christian.
Okay, Chris. A man makes a claim that these disciples wrote these accounts. He says, I got it from elders. No one knows who these elders were or anything.
No, you know who the elders were.
No, you don't. Because
every church has elders.
No, what I'm saying.
In Ephesus,
Chris, let me finish.
In Corinth,
Chris, can I finish?
They were appointed.
Chris, I let you finish. I let you finish.
You say that we don't
Chris,
know.
I let you finish. Let me finish. Now, everyone has taken what he has said, even the Christians today, without ever testing it, without analyzing it, without verifying where did he get this from. Now, you're telling me that when Papias got this information, when he found out that the disciples supposedly wrote these accounts, he got it from elders. Now, I'm asking you, if that is the case, who are these elders? Do they have good memory? And are they honest? And if you can't give me a name...
Did anyone at the time disagree with Papias? Anyone at all?
No.
No, but you, 2,000 years later, you've worked out Papias was wrong.
Yes.
Because you can time travel or something.
No.
But at that time, nobody disagreed with Papias.
So what I'm saying is to you, okay? The same with Athanasius. When he canonized 27 books, nobody challenged it, they just took it as it is because he said so.
No, they didn't take it as it is.
Can I finish?
You're misrepresenting it. Athanasius made a statement that everybody already agreed with. This is the canon.
There was disputes on the canon.
No discussion.
There was disputes on the canon before.
Yeah.
Now what I'm saying with Papias, people took what Papias said without actually challenging it, without verifying it.
No, they agreed with it.
No.
That's why they didn't challenge it.
Yes, they agreed without challenging it, without verifying. Is it honest?
No, they knew he was honest. So
what I'm saying is, what is the evidence that what Papias said is true? Other than the fact that the Christians just blindly believed it.
It's not true because Papias said
Chris.
It's true because everybody, the early Christians all accepted it. It has nothing to do, well, Papias is nice, but he's not our source of information.
Chris, a Christian makes a claim, right? A Christian makes a claim. After he makes a claim, A bunch of Christians blindly follow him without actually verifying it.
They agree.
No, what I'm asking you is this.
They all agree. One of them actually says it.
Chris, I'm asking you this. If it's true what Papias said, I'm asking what is the evidence? You're right. What's the evidence that Papias used? How can we verify that he is actually a reliable source?
I've already told you.
You're saying because everyone agreed, that's how we can verify it. Is that what you're saying?
Because nobody disagreed.
So because he makes a claim, and nobody knows where he got the claim from, the fact that no one challenged it, you're saying that the fact that nobody challenged it, that's an evidence.
Then that means it's universally accepted.
No problem.
And then that you, 2,000 years later, find it difficult to accept that.
No, okay, I'll address that. No problem.
That's your problem.
No problem. I'll address that. First, I want to say you haven't given any evidence that Papi is reliable other than people believe what he said. I'll address that. When we look at Nestorianism, which arose in the 5th century, we look at the Ebionites from the 1st century, we look at Constantinople and his idea of Trinitarianism. What happened to anyone that differed on the orthodox position of Christianity?
Yeah, what happened to them?
They were killed.
No.
They weren't killed?
No.
And people that...
Hold on. What happened to the people who didn't agree with Orthodox Christianity?
I'm asking... Yeah.
Okay, the answer is not that they were killed. The answer is they were not part of the official church.
No.
Okay? No.
What happened?
There was lots of Christians outside the official church. Like nowadays, there's a lot of Protestants, Baptists, all over the world.
What happened to the Ebionites?
There's Ebionites.
They were killed.
There's lots of Christians outside the official church.
Okay, fine. Chris, the Ebionites, what happened to them?
What happened to them? A lot of them moved outside of the empire.
And many of them were killed.
A lot of them moved outside the empire, where they could be Ebionites as much as they wanted to.
But were they not killed off?
Not all of them, no.
But were a large portion of them not killed?
I don't know if any one of them was killed.
Eusebius mentions it in...
I know a lot of Ebionites were living outside the center of power of the okay? So the claim that all the Christians had to conform is ridiculous.
I will address that.
The empire was never big enough to address Christians in Africa, Christians in Western Europe, Christians in Asia.
Okay, Chris, let me address that.
The empire was only small, and the Ebionites could easily move outside.
Chris, let me address it. Eusebius himself in the classical history, he mentions their beliefs. He mentions that a large portion of them were killed. Likewise with Nestorianism in the 5th century, sorry. Let me finish. Anyone that believes in Nestorianism, or the majority of people, were burnt at the stake for believing it. Yes, they was. Likewise.
A lot of them left
I said a large portion of them. Likewise, Constantinople and his idea of Trinitarianism, Constantine. What happened to anyone that didn't believe in Constantine's idea of Trinitarianism?
They were outside the church.
But a large portion of them were killed.
No.
Yes, they were killed.
Just a few.
A large portion of them were killed. A large portion of your own scholars and historians mentioned it. A large portion of them were killed.
Hold on. Now, obviously, you know that a lot of Aryans, the Goths became Aryans, okay, outside the empire. A lot of people in Arabia would have been Aryans.
I'm talking about in the empire. In the empire, were they not killed?
Outside the empire.
In the empire. Were a large portion of them not killed?
There were more people outside
Chris, you're being disingenuous. In the empire, were a large portion of Christians that differed on the orthodox position not killed?
I see. There were always, and there always are, a lot of Christians outside the empire.
Chris, you're not answering my question. I'm not asking about that.
You pretend as if Christianity is controlled.
I didn't say that. I'm not asking about a minority outside the empire. I'm asking in the empire. The large portion of Christians that differed with the orthodox position, were they or were they not killed? No. And if you differ with me, I'll start quoting your sources.
Maybe a few were killed, but not a large portion.
Eusebius himself mentions it in the classical history. He himself mentions it.
I don't accept that at all.
So then why do you accept him when he quotes Papias?
There has always been lots of Christians who disagreed with the official teaching.
But you're cherry picking.
No, I'm saying that you pretend as if somebody's controlling all this.
No, Chris, you're cherry picking.
We're not talking about Islam where there's a caliph who controls all this.
That's a whole different
Christianity is completely different.
Chris, you are cherry...
There's always been Christians in Ethiopia.
I'm not talking about that.
Outside the empire.
I'm talking about in the empire.
There were Christians,
Chris,
there were Christians in England before the empire.
Chris, I'm talking about in the empire. I'm talking about in the empire.
But you want there to be a central control to Christianity.
No, I don't. I don't want that. What I'm saying is, Eusebius himself, you just denied what he said. So why do you accept when Eusebius quotes Papias? as the evidence that these men wrote these accounts. No, wait, Chris, let me finish. Let me finish. Chris, can I finish? Can I finish, please? You take Eusebius when he mentions Papias. You say that's a valid evidence. Now, when Eusebius himself says that people that differed on the creed were killed off, you reject it.
No, they weren't killed off.
Eusebius mentions it though.
They were just put outside the church.
So what I'm asking, why do you accept Eusebius when he quotes Papias, but then when he says that the Christians that differed with the Orthodox position were murdered, why do you dispute with him then?
There may have been a few. In the center of
why
power
do you dispute? Why do you only agree with parts of what Eusebius says, but then when he says that they were killed off, you disagree with him?
Because my information about who wrote the New Testament doesn't come from Papias or Eusebius.
I'm talking about, so where does it come from?
Where does it come from? This is commonly accepted.
Where does it come from? Where does it come from?
There is nobody in the first centuries who said Matthew didn't write the book of Matthew.
There's nobody from the first century that said Matthew did write Matthew. Chris.
You have no proof for your position.
Chris, what I'm asking you, yes? You said that they weren't killed off. I said that your own historians, such as Eusebius, said they were. You're saying they weren't. What is your evidence and what's your reference?
I'm saying there was always lots of Christians outside the empire.
So what is your evidence?
Even if the empire...
What's your evidence, Chris?
This is logical, historic.
Chris, from who?
You know where Ethiopia is.
Chris,
has it ever been in the empire?
Chris, I'm asking you.
Okay.
I'm asking you. The claim that you're making, what's the evidence and what's the reference?
You claim the empire was all powerful.
Chris, I'm asking the claim that you're making. I said Eusebius in the classical history, he mentions this point I'm making. The point you're making, what is your evidence what is your reference?
Eusebius was in the center of power in the empire.
Chris, what is your evidence and what is your reference?
So, my evidence that there was lots of Christians outside the empire.
And what is the evidence?
Do I really need to?
Yes.
Do you know which empire we're talking about?
You told me.
The Roman Empire.
Yeah.
Around 300.
Yeah.
How big was it?
It was quite big.
Not that big anymore.
It wasn't that small. It was quite big.
The west.
It was large.
The west of the empire was overrun by the Goths. It was already at that time. The empire wasn't very strong in the west.
Chris.
What was happening in the east?
Chris, the point that you're making.
Okay.
Was
Ethiopia in the empire?
Can I respond?
No. Huh?
Can I respond? Because you're asking me a question. The point that you're making, your scholars, your historians from the 4th century onwards have admitted in their own books, which I quoted you, classical history, he said they were killed off. You're saying that's not the case. I'm asking.
Well, maybe a few.
Chris, I'm asking.
The Ebionites lived on.
Chris, can I finish?
You know,
Chris, can I finish? Chris.
The Ebionites lived on outside
Chris,
the
can I finish? Can I finish? If you're gonna make a claim, can you give me the evidence and the reference? Saying it's common knowledge is not evidence.
You know and I know the Ebionites lived on.
Chris, can you give me evidence and a reference?
You know that. You can do your historic research.
Can you give?
I'm not presenting a paper on Ebionites here.
Neither am I, but I managed to quote Eusebius in classical history. Can you give me evidence and a reference?
I'm saying your claim that we can't trust the Bible flies in the face of everything early Christians believed. It flies in the face of what the Quran states. So it's fine if you don't want to believe it.
Are you going to address the point or not? Because
that's the point.
It's nice talking to you.
You're out of sync with everybody.
There's no point having this conversation because you won't give me. If you won't give a reference or evidence, there's no point.
But I'm still right after all. Where's the guy?
To the newspaper.
What I wanted to say, after last week, someone told me I was trying to but I saw on the floor that it was because so that's because I've been in your place for a long time.
This is the one that will show you how I know. It's the same.